final graphics portion of that document will include a lot of photographs from the township at large, and the draft copy we didn't put on. I think that the plan addresses the issues we've discussed for almost a year. The one item that's obviously missing is what I spoke to earlier about the housing element. We can't conclude finitely what that plan will ultimately be.
Round four.
Round four. There are so many different players involved in that decision that it would be foolish to just speculate and write on paper, this is what we think the plan is, because in all likelihood, it'll get amended one way or the other. Other than that, I would suggest that the board schedule a public hearing for your first meeting in December and begin the process.
This has been distributed. Here's our master plan draft. This has been distributed to board members and possibly the township committee.
I think it's online.
It's on the website also.
And it's on the website, great. I wanted the public to have time to review this. You'll see I have housekeeping notes here, and some clarifications. But to schedule a public meeting will give more township residents a chance to make their comments,
Correct.
additions, subtractions. anything that might-
I mean, this plan is probably in the neighborhood of 10 to 11 revisions over the past 30 years. The township has never really postponed relooking at its own policies, past decisions, and/or things that occurred that, for instance, the Mount Laurel case in the mid-70s, statute in the mid-80s, you didn't anticipate that in the early 70s. Now you do. And you have to anticipate it every 10 years. So the plan is not wholesale revision to the planning process in the township. For one obvious reason, you're 90% developed. So now we're dealing with the kind of case we had tonight. A really odd-shaped piece of property, but it is no question, it's 3 times the size of what is required. So you deal with those, and we deal with ones that are underwater, wetlands. So a lot of the recommendations, more so than prior plans, is updating regulations, being more finite in terms of what is a permitted use and what isn't. Some of the boards recall when Atlantic moved from behind me to the old King's Shopping Center, there was a lot of question as to whether or not that needed a use variance, didn't need a use variance, how the ordinances had been interpreted. Those kinds of things have to be tightened up, and that's part of the recommendation. Very important. It's a simple recommendation. So
Correct,
that's
we have
just
some longtime residents, landscapers, tree cutters,
There's
other
no place
services
to-
that have been operating for 40 years.
no place they
They
can
have
go.
a benefit to the community,
Right.
but
They're
they've been
not-
grandfathered into the zoning that doesn't work.
No, you really need to find a place for them. The plan recommends they be in the, EP, 250 zone, or basically along the flood fringe of the Dead River and Passaic Rivers, or on agricultural property. Believe it or not, landscape business is not covered in the Right to Farm Act. So if you have a piece of property that's zoned, or not zoned, but assessed in agriculture, you can't have a landscaping business. But it's ideal, because the farm involves equipment. That's what they are. And that's set forth in the recommendations. And we had discussed this probably last year, early this year. And I think the plan is quite comprehensive, and I think it's time to discuss it publicly. So if you agree, we'll get the notices in the paper. To the extent we'll have the final version available on December 8th. The language is there, possibly not all the graphics, but that'll be done. So
I agree, just a few comments. Mary Ellen, if we can get this in the paper, the township website.
It's on the website, I already did notice it in the paper.
Okay, for the
I mean,
8th.
it's not, I have to put it.
Okay, because it's gonna be more of a presentation. What's on the agenda for the 8th, and how much time do we have for this?
For the 8th is, the Jewish Community Center subdivision
oh, Jesus.
and Storybook.
And how long
Storybook
do
is
you
one
think
that
we
we
need
asked
for master plan?
for.
There could be 20 residents here, 25 residents
You
here.
know, it
I
could
think we
be
need at
all, it
least an
could be
hour.
all night, it could be a half an hour. I would suggest it would probably be someplace between a half an hour and an hour.
So perhaps we'll stop hearing our applications at 9 o'clock.
Good idea.
Mary Ellen, if you could distribute the master plan draft to all the department heads,
Okay.
recreation, health, sewer, education, anybody that would have a final say on something in here. It's a great draft, John, it's a lot of information, it was a lot of work. You definitely paid attention to the master plan survey. A lot of the input from the subcommittees we've had here, residents. I have 2 pages, maybe 3 pages of notes. Some of it's housekeeping. Some of it are tricky questions like the economic development section, page 20, Independence Boulevard. Boy, that's a big challenge.
Mhm.
It'd be great to put some direction on what we could do next. And I don't have the answer for that, but it's maybe something we should try to address in the master plan. Just
That's really covered in the redevelopment section where it talks about Independence Boulevard,
Mhm.
possibly repurposing. But at this juncture, there were so many unanswered questions that are probably more driven not by planning, but by banking, bankers.
I don't think the owners know what to do with that property either. Traffic is a tough one.
Well, it
So
could get any
it's
worse.
almost very difficult to ask you for recommendations. I know you talked about phasing of lights. We have what we have. If we get a little more of a vision for traffic, I'm asking for a very tough
But
comment here.
that road corridor, King George, Mount Bethel, Warrenville, the equipment is there to synchronize those lights in
Mhm.
real time.
I
But they
spoke,
had-
I spoke to the engineers at the county, and they told me they're gonna pave that road 27, and that's when they'll look at the lights again. They need to do another study, because the study they did is too old.
They
Which I
never
agree.
finished, they never finished the study.
They never finished
They
it.
fibbed to you.
But they promised me, and I just spoke to the engineer today about something else, and he said 27, they're gonna pave, and they will redo a study. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Let's hope the equipment isn't outdated
Mhm.
by that time.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
Um,
John said it probably will be.
Yeah. John, I like on page 32, the multi-generational caregivers.
yes.
In town. I don't know if that would include a caregiver that you might hire. It kind of reads as maybe family. I don't know if you want to include
Well,
professional caregivers. Just so everyone knows, we're not making an apartment. Everyone has to enter through the front door of the house. It's really meant for a family member, but so many people of us bring professional caregivers in, and it'd be nice to have a little suite for them.
at this juncture, we have not required any zoning variances, or at least historically. Now, I don't make those decisions any longer, but we have not required Board of Adjustment, actions on that type of individual, nor have we required them where they were added bedrooms, living rooms, prayer rooms. When they started getting into full kitchens, that became a different story, and it became, how do you get to this portion of the home? If they had to walk through the main part of the house, you knew they were gonna be family or relatives of some sort. If they come in the side door, that's an apartment.
Very close to the.
So that was not permitted. And we do what is called a letter, it's a deed restriction. So it's public notice, you can't have a realtor saying, oh, this is a two-family house. You can rent this side, do whatever, because it would be illegal.
Page 42, you speak about utilities, and it's stated that we have basically ample utilities, power, water, gas, everything, but didn't we approve a generator in one of the corporate centers that had inadequate supply, it was a tech center? Do we lack
No, that
electricity for some of these
generator
research
was to
buildings?
deal with possible brownouts. Their equipment,
It was for brownouts and dips.
their
Okay,
chips that they make couldn't tolerate a variation in power.
okay,
So that was like a backup.
so I see our engineer nodding his head also.
Yeah.
We feel that we do have adequate power for
Well,
the
when,
tech centers we have in town.
when they built the substation up by Independence, that helped.
Okay.
That helped. Now, the utility companies say we have plenty of reserves
Okay.
for, the township. And so does the American Water.
Bristol.
And we don't have any jurisdiction anyway.
Okay. But if we made it a directive to grow, Mr. Casper, do you agree that the power that's allotted to Warren Township and the lines are adequate for now and future growth? If we get an AI facility, there's not enough power in New Jersey to power this.
Correct, correct. And I think both utility companies are working towards it. Most of our utility power comes from JCP&L, and that's what Mr. Chadwick was talking about when we put in that section, the new substation behind the Glaxo building.
Yeah.
And they did those improvements. Was really to be able to provide power when certain portions of the town had issues, like we had in Sandy, with certain areas being cut out. That was to be able to provide power coming from another direction.
Maybe we
But I
should
don't
put a
have
little
comment as to
language.
whether or not there's adequate
The
capacity.
power needs are gonna be great with technology, that's what it seems. So perhaps we should research, supplying adequate power for Warren, New Jersey, and add some flowery language that would support that. That's all I read about, is lack of power and
Yeah.
I
technology.
mean,
We like our corporate centers.
everybody, not everybody, but a lot of homes, high percentage of homes have fairly large home generators. But they're gas fired.
Not green, is that what you're saying?
They're gas fired, so you're not gonna all of a sudden be sucking juice on something. I mean, they turn it around. Very little solar interest in the
The last one I'm gonna state, because you don't need to hear all my comments here tonight, exterior lighting, we have good, regulations on commercial buildings, but not residential homes. And I do hear and see comments about light spillover from residential homes. And if we could get, I don't wanna do a dark sky, coalition here, because that's really oppressive. But if we could have warm tones, warmer lighting, and no spillover, a little bit of language in that for residential homes.
Yeah.
Some complaints have come to me.
What is the restrictions? I live across the street from the White Bridge Academy, and they have a light that stays on all night, and especially in the fall and the winter, it illuminates.
Well, I
They're
think
not
all lights
supposed-
should be shielded, but
Call
I'll let
call
Mr.
the joint
Chadwick.
officer, get it, shake his cage.
Okay.
All lights are supposed to be shielded,
They're-
and
they're
they're not
supposed-
supposed
no,
to be
that-
able to see a bulb.
That facility is supposed to be off, but for security.
The light is on for security.
We have had lights off, but for security for years now.
Should the light be shielded, so it's not directly affecting a neighbor?
We need lights on in the parking lot. This is on the.
None of these are supposed to be on once they're closed for business.
So, call, and we'll check the ordinance of what we approved there. Probably a lights out time associated with that property. Okay, that's all I have. We'll do some housekeeping along the way.
And I'll be candid, this lighting issue has been going on for a decades. And it turns out that, you know, one neighbor decides they wanna light up their backyard so that they can pick up a needle off the grass. And,
They
you
wanna
know,
be seen from
we run
space.
around.
But a little
It's
direction,
tough.
little guidance.
You know,
would be good.
regulation in some cases just isn't gonna work. You gotta get on a phone and say, you gotta shut your lights off.
Yeah.
I was walking across the street and talk to your neighbor.
Everybody calls town hall.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Does the board have any questions or comments? On the residential study up for the, December 8th meeting. So we can maybe put this to bed in one meeting. If there's no questions from the board members, we'll let the public come up and give questions or comments about the master plan section of this meeting.
Good evening, Bill Gilbert, 17 Flintlock. A couple questions. I didn't realize the draft plan was there until today, so I haven't had a chance to go through it. But I did glance at it. It references several places an open space plan, but I don't see an open space plan anyplace. So I'm not,
Included.
where? I've
One of
looked.
the maps in there show you conservation, recreation, open space.
There's a map, but there's no plan, is my point, that I can find. Or if it is there, it needs to be pointed out. So, and I'll have,
We don't have an open space committee
yeah,
to,
that's,
ask
that's
questions
true.
about this. We will next month.
So I understand. So, but in any case, that was one comment. And I assume comments in writing as well via the website as per the earlier documents?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good.
Yes, Mary
How
Ellen.
are we gonna do that? So,
Well, they're posted on the website. We've been reviewing them.
yeah, but for public to put a comment through the website, there has to be a mechanism, and I don't have one.
No, there is a mechanism.
It's a hearing, it's a
There-
public hearing.
It's a public hearing, so you need to give your comment and testimony in person. We'll continue to review comments on the website, but they won't be part of the meeting unless they're brought up by, is that what I'm hearing? Unless they're brought up by a resident?
Right, when you were workshopping it with the residents and you had these different steps along the way, it was perfectly appropriate for residents to write in or take a survey, but for the actual hearing, for the 8th, it's governed by the municipal land use law, and you have to come in person to give any statements, questions, comments, etc. Otherwise, it would be hearsay.
Well, that's very impractical because I'm sure not only myself, but others will have a lot more comments than half an hour or an hour are going to accommodate.
We'll continue the meeting or go longer. We won't
Okay.
shut the meeting down.
Okay,
Everyone will have a chance to be heard.
okay.
Fortunately, on the 8th, we have a pretty full meeting. We're gonna shorten applicants' time. So if it goes past 10 o'clock, we'll have a subsequent meeting.
Okay.
The municipal land use law has not been updated for our times, our hybrid times, our internet times. It hasn't been updated. It's these publishing in the newspapers and coming in person to comments, been that way since the 80s. It's never been updated.
Yeah, well, it's totally impractical on a 107-page document, so, yeah, but
But anyway,
those are the
if you
rules.
comment, you know it's them, because there's no proof.
Well, our job is to work within the system.
Okay, well, okay, I understand the rules messed up as they are, so, okay.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question or comment about the master plan? Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting.